Welcome back to the Jack and Joe Show, where we've just come from the midweek thrilling game. Jack, how are you doing?
Oh, mate, I'm brilliant. I mean, Amazon Prime. We are Prime on Amazon Prime. I mean, that was vintage Fulham, Marco Silva's Black White Army. I couldn't be more thrilled, Joe. And let's get into some talking about the game.
Yeah, we're also going to touch on Liverpool, which we have to, and we're then going to preview the West Ham game. But before we get into any of that, it is the season for festive football, and that means a lot of games, as you've already seen at the start of December and the end of November. And if you can't make it to a game, then you can make it to the best alternative, which is a local Green King Sports pub, who remain sponsors of Fulhamish for the entire season. There's nothing better than some refreshing pints, such as the ones that Jack had last night, some delicious food, Christmas crackers in the Premier League.
Absolutely. And, every fixture is either on TNT or Sky, or even like last night was on Amazon at a Green King Sport pub. That means you get wall-to-wall action. The huge HD screens as well. You can watch every winning goal, top bin volley, or dodgy VAR decision. An atmosphere worth sharing. Both of Fulham's games over the Christmas period against Bournemouth and Arsenal are both on TV, Amazon Prime and Sky, I believe.
That's right. Yeah.
So if you're away for the festive period and can't get to the match, head down to a local Green King Sport pub instead.
And there is incentive other than that. If you were to download the Green King Sport app at the moment, there is a special offer where you'll receive 10% off drinks every single time there is sport on the TV. So if you ever want to go and watch a game, be it Fulham or otherwise, you can get 10% off drinks. The link is in the description below, so you can check that out. But Jack, let's get into Liverpool very briefly, first of all.
Okay.
Let's almost go with slight negative into the positive. The performance was fantastic against Liverpool. The performance was one to be very, very, very proud of. And the result, obviously, we just came unstuck in a quite simply bonkers 90 seconds at the end. We have to think about the opposition. We have to think about the quality of goals we conceded. What were your thoughts? I know that we've spoken, but maybe for the benefit of everyone else, what were your thoughts after that Liverpool game, especially going into this double header of home games? Were you more thinking about the performance as opposed to the result, or were you just gutted like me?
Oh, it's difficult. I think there was a lot of emotions going in. Like that whole game was an absolute roller coaster. It felt like the whole first half felt like 90 minutes in itself. I think the overriding feeling I had was just like, I can't believe that's happened. You go 3-2 up after 80 minutes, and you think. I said to Luke and Matthew, we were watching the game together, I said, at worst, we're going to get a point here.
That's exactly
what you said.
Yeah.
It's just so, and for all of Liverpool's qualities, and the goals were ridiculous. I can't sit here now and say that's one of the worst moments of the season, because ultimately, last night has completely. I'm not even thinking about it. I haven't really thought about Liverpool since Sunday evening. It was just one of those crazy games where it happens. We've seen Liverpool do this before against Crystal Palace a few years ago. They won like 4-3 or 3-2 or something from like a ridiculous situation like that. But maybe they weren't 3-2 down at the 80th minute. But anyway, the performance was brilliant. We saw a lot from TC. Robinson was brilliant. I'm just trying to remember the actual game because it was before the previous one. There was a lot of good performances in there. Just Harry Wilson, Tete, to score 3 goals at Anfield was just marvellous. And I can't sit here now and just say, oh, what a gut punch. I mean, it was obviously a gut punch at the time, but last night it's completely washed anyway. Any emotion from that game. Like it was just like, you can actually sit back now and just appreciate how good of the game it was. What about you? Because it's so frustrating that we came away with nothing, but you have to give immense credit for the way we applied ourselves during that 90 minutes, Joe.
For sure. And, people talk about game state and what could happen during a game at different moments. And I think the perfect example is when Liverpool equalised through their third, basically wonder goal of the day.
Man.
I mean, it was the most normal of all of them, and it was still a fantastic goal from Endo. That's the time to slow the game down and bring on Tosin and kill the vibe in Anfield, because for all the stick it gets, it does really heat up during those key moments. It can become a bit of a fire pit. And that's ultimately what happened. And momentum was not with us. And it's very unfortunate for the team that we came away with nothing. I agree with you, Jack, about it not having a big effect on me. And I think that's to do with the fact that we had another game 3 days later. 3 days later. It was on the Sunday. For example, that Man United game, last minute goal, international break, awful. You have to
Yeah,
sit
that was
on that
bad.
last minute
Yeah,
goal for
we've
2
done that
weeks.
before with other games as well.
Sorry, we had Villa after that, but even then it was the international break, and
Oh,
it was just.
just yeah.
I mean, to
Oh,
me, it
over a
felt like an
week.
international break because I was on holiday. Maybe that's why.
Ah.
But I think that this game last night, Jack. Let's get into it because
Yeah.
the team comes out. I'm seeing you eye to eye, drinking a beer.
Yes. Team
And
news is out, and we were
Tosin is
meters apart.
the big call. Tosin is in at centre back. This is probably the decision that I wanted made post Wolves, where I don't think Ream had a great game. I thought Ream was fine against Liverpool. Didn't really
Yeah.
put anything wrong, but I guess it's too much football for someone of that age. The same way that Willian was not started against Liverpool. I was delighted by the team news. I would have liked to have seen Wilson start. The game kicks off, Jack, and let's face it, nothing happened for half an hour other than Origi shooting wide and Pereira hit the post, and that almost got us started from that free kick.
Yeah.
And why don't you take it from there? A wonderful, wonderful end to the half.
Yeah, it was brilliant. It did feel like it did feel after half an hour before we hit the post and before we scored. Obviously, I did say to Matthew, I was sitting next to my brother at the ground, and I said, "Look, this is the atmosphere is very, very flat. It's a midweek night. And usually, everyone's a little bit up for it, but I think the performance has been a little bit flat. This feels like it's just going to be a 0-0, or it's like, oh, what minute do you think Forest are going to score in and nab the game 1-0? But then suddenly, the goal from Iwobi, I've only seen it a couple of times. Like I haven't properly sat down and it did feel like the opening goal against Wolves. It was quite similar, but maybe it wasn't. Maybe I'm wrong. But the way
Well,
in which he
it
sort of made the run
was a
and
breakaway where
yeah,
Iwobi scored. I mean, it was great from so many players because I watched it back because at the time I was just thinking, oh, great cross from Willian, but there's so much before that in
okay,
terms of Jimenez wins the ball back
okay,
in our own half. Bassi drives forward and slides it to Cairney, who does brilliantly to take it around the defender.
mm,
As soon as he finds Willian, you think, okay, something's going to happen here. Is he going to cut inside and shoot? Is he going to slide it through? Or is he going to cross it over to Iwobi? Because Jimenez was in the middle as well. And it was just a wonderful composed finish by Iwobi.
okay,
And I do really think from the moment we went 1-0 up, I don't think this is exactly a hot take. I
hmm
never thought there was any chance of us not winning that game. I thought
really,
that Forest was so poor. I just thought that for that first half an hour, we were pretty, not necessarily poor or poorer than Forest. It was just a nothing game. And it needed that moment of quality to get us started. But they didn't threaten all night, particularly.
no.
And we did every time we went forward. And the next time we went forward, we went 2-0 up.
Yeah, and it was a weird finish because it came obviously off the bar, and it was like this thunderous strike from Raul, who, by the way, I'm so happy that he's got a goal, especially at the sausage as well, Craven Cottage. I mean, it's brilliant. The way I don't know, I'm really sorry. I don't know who got the assist. I just
It
haven't
was
seen it back.
Pereira. It was Pereira.
Andreas. Oh
Yeah.
yes, I mean that's good. I mean, there's been a lot of stick about Pereira's performances, but from what I can remember,
He was a lot better last night.
yeah,
A
yeah.
lot better. Because that's what I was saying before the game. I wanted Wilson to start, and who would it have been ahead of? Probably Andreas.
And
So
then play Iwobi behind. Yeah.
exactly. And I was
Mm.
proven wrong. It worked really well.
Mm. The third goal, I missed
Wow.
it. I was in the concourse with some very good friends of ours, Joe and Chloe,
Yeah.
and
It
it
was
was a
I
good
mean,
moment.
I'm sure you had a fantastic time with Joe and Chloe. The goal was better because it was so good. Because it was just free kicks given away, halfway
Right.
line.
Okay.
Ball over the top from Andreas again. Doesn't get the assist because after Jimenez does brilliantly to take it down with his chest, Aina, our old friend,
Hey,
our foe yesterday, who was, it pains me to say it, awful because I
dreadful.
like him a lot. He was awful. Um, Takes it down. Aina gets a touch on it. Jimenez sort of like pushes him away, and Aina goes down. And I was almost a little bit nervous that they were going to bring it back for something. I'm very
Hmm.
glad they didn't because he takes
Okay.
it around the goalkeeper, who felt very sorry for because I don't think he made a save. He spent the whole night picking the ball out of the
Right in
net.
the net.
And then he does a little back heel, and it was so cheeky. And it was like, that is what confidence can do. I
Yes.
remember making a bold prediction that I don't think will be right, and I think it was our hot take that failed. It was that Jimenez would get double figures goals. Well, I'll tell you what, Jack, he's on
He's on his
3.
way.
He's on 3. We have a lot of time left. If he was on penalties, he'd be on 5, in my opinion, but he's
Yeah.
not.
Okay.
Well done to Willian. But the best goal of the night, in my opinion, by far, it was just wonderful individual skill. And I saw a lot of Wolves fans saying this is what he used to play like in terms of just bullying the defenders and just
Right.
being so confident in front of goal. And if we can get him back to half of that player, we're in for a treat. And I feel like this was a massive, massive game for his Fulham career. I tweeted a stupid gif with an XL bully about him since Villa
That was
Park
so funny. That was so
because
funny.
Villa Park, I thought he was great. Wolves, I thought he was good. Liverpool, I thought he was great. And last night, I thought he was absolutely excellent. Regardless of the goal, he was coming deep, winning the ball back. If he hadn't scored anything, his performance was still fantastic because his work ethic for that first goal, which Iwobi scored, he won the ball back. He started the move, and he was there in the box to take the defender away from Iwobi as well. So he basically finished it. Loved it. Loved his performance last night.
Oh, that's a social clip. Definitely. I mean, that's a glowing review of Raul Jimenez, who, we always talk about strikers building off their own confidence by scoring goals, assisting. But, I can't remember who it was. I bet it was Umberto. He said, why is he backheeling that? Who cares? Scored the goal.
Yeah.
Great goal. I wish I was actually up in the stand.
Back heel if it doesn't go in, but it did.
That would have been funny. If we'd have missed that, we'd be
if that back heel doesn't go
in,
my head's on absolute Saturn, by the way, because come on.
I can't remember the way we scored the fourth. It was a nice ball across the box.
The fourth, yeah.
I had seen that. Yes,
good to see another goal contribution from Wilson for that one with the cross.
It did feel a bit easy, like
it was very
the second
easy.
half.
I mean, the LAs were going round from about the 55th minute, just after Jimenez scored, and we were just saying off camera before we started, we were like going through what were Forest's chances, and I remember the Origi one. I remember like early on where it went wide, quite a good effort from so far out, but never going in. I remember Murillo, their highly rated young centre back, who
you'll never get past Murillo, is what they're singing.
Yeah, well, that was unfortunate because 5 times we did. Not that any of them were his individual faults, other than the second goal where he gave the ball away.
Okay.
So yeah, we did.
Right.
And then obviously they had he shot it over the bar in the first half. Chris Wood fired wide after we went 3-0 up in probably their best chance. And then Alanga forced one fairly simple save from Leno in the second half. That was it.
I have no recollection of that at all.
For any of you that follow XG, have a look. It's good reading. We're 2 point something quite high. Can't remember the exact amount. And they're 0 point something quite low. So it's very nice to read. And then obviously Jack, 5th goal, final goal.
Yeah, we've got to talk about it. We have to talk about Tom Cairney, like as a player.
Yeah. So let's just say firstly, well done, Andreas Pereira. Nice ball. Cairney, great finish. You go to town on Cairney now because he obviously didn't start the game against Liverpool, probably just due to can't do the 3 games so quickly to each other. He came off the bench and set up Bobby Reed's, we thought, potential winner. And then last night, again, he was just electric.
Well, I thought if he's not in the team tonight, he'll be on Sky Sports doing his soccer special. He is made for that, isn't he? He's made for that gig. But I think it's so important that we give the time to talk about Tom Cairney. This is a player who, of course, scored one of the biggest goals we've ever seen. I feel very like full circle with TC. When we were going up and down, he was obviously a star player. He had a lot of injury issues. But when he would play, he would just be magnificent. And I think this is what we're seeing now. Like, Tom Cairney's obviously not getting any younger, but the contributions he's making to this team, in a team that does need a little bit of calming down at times, because it can be a little bit all over the shop sometimes, and obviously got Paulinho sitting. Paulinho last night, I didn't. To be fair, I need to watch the game back. Definitely, I didn't notice him at all. But I suppose that's a good thing, right?
It's a good thing. I mean, I noticed him absolutely flattening a few of their players, which is fantastic value. Put it this way, it's not often that we can take him off with about 10 minutes left.
Yeah.
And I've got a very quick point on this before I forget.
Yeah, go for it.
Discipline of the team, something has changed since the international break. We were getting way too many yellow cards. We were getting the suspensions. Obviously, Paulinho was out, booked in that final Villa game before the international break, suspended for Wolves. Robinson's on 4, which is why he got taken off yesterday for Ballo-Touré, who did well when he came on, by the way.
Yes.
Since the international break, we've had 3 games. How many yellow cards have we got, Jack?
Since the international break,
so
we
3
have
games.
had
so Wolves,
2 against Wolves.
So I
and
believe
none against Liverpool. We've had 2. Ream and Vinicius.
Yeah, and I believe
Vinicius was that
was
stupid headbutt.
It was the 2 really stupid moments where it was like the Ream, he pulled someone back in the first half against Wolves, and then Vinicius did that stupid punch. But in terms of like the key players that normally are at risk, like our fullbacks and our defensive midfielder and Paulinho, no yellows at all, which is fantastic. Fantastic. Because we were getting too many suspensions last season. I remember that the City game before we played United, when we went and lost in the last minute in both. I remember that Tete and Reed both got their 5th yellows.
Yeah.
And guess where the goal came from in that United game? It came from that space which would have been between them. And it's almost like, if that was not Bobby Reed and Josh Onuma, if it was Kenny Tete and Harrison Reed, maybe that ends 1-1. And it's very important. It's fine margins, as a certain cardigan-wearing friend would say. But Jack, last night, let's go into it in more detail.
I just wanted to finish up on TC.
Keep going.
Because the thing about the chat amongst the Fulham fans is, by the way, the relationship between the Fulham fans and Tom Cairney is probably one of the strongest relationships I've seen since supporting the club. And there's always been this sort of background talk about a statue. And I think a statue has to be like the threshold to get a statue has got to be extremely high. But I can't think of a single reason as to why he wouldn't get one. The winning goal in the playoff final, the countless contributions to 3 promotions. And then now we're seeing, I know last season he had to play a bit off the bench. And even when he came on, he was brilliant. And he obviously scored, I think, 2 against Leicester. One was right, one was left. The performances we're seeing now, last night against Wolves, are nothing short of absolutely breathtaking.
Yeah.
He is one of the best players I've ever seen play for Fulham. And he doesn't get that appreciation anymore because he's not in the team as often. You've got players like Paulinho, you've got players like Harry Wilson and Iwobi who are like really taking centre stage right now with their performances. But technically, as a player back in the Championship, 17, 18 under Slavisa, a lot of credit to go to Slavisa for making Cairney the player he is. And Silva's obviously just taken that as well. But the fact of the matter is, we were worried in the summer about our midfield and Sasha Lukic and Tom Cairney. Is this enough depth? Mate, Tom Cairney's so good at football. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
He's so good. And I feel very pleased. And I think, Joe, the statue question has to now come into question. He's 2 years away from a testimonial, or a year and a half. I think he'll obviously make it and get it. But there is no reason as to why he can't get a statue. I don't think, you think of players like Mitrovic, but obviously he left, maybe statue-esque. But players right now, or of the last era, why not? Why not TC?
If it's going to be anyone, it's got to be him. And you're completely right, Jack. We had those moments where up and down, and he basically stuck with us when he could have moved on to bigger investment things. And then we stuck with him when he had the injury problems, and now we're back to where we were in terms of both being on song. What we're seeing from him in the Premier League is what we expected when we first came up in the 18-19 season, but he was surrounded by fodder, to be honest with you. Like, he didn't have that stage. Then he got injured. It was just nothing clicked that season. He was being played on the wing. This is what we wanted to see from him, and he's had to change his role, slightly come deeper, partly with age and pace, but he controls every game that he plays in, no matter when he comes on. And I was, saying to my dad and sister that I sit with at Fulham, I was saying, is it just a case of, this is before he started against Wolves, I was saying, is it a case of he can only really come on and run games when the opposition are tired and when it's a bit more open? He comes on around the 60-minute mark, he controls it, but can he do it from the start? He started the season against Everton, and that day Fulham as a whole weren't great. So no blame goes to him, but he was just pretty average by his standards. This has proved that completely wrong. He is being a fantastic asset this season, off the bench and starting. He's getting goal and assist contributions. That's, against Wolves, won the penalty. Against Liverpool, set up Bobby Reid's goal. And then last night, obviously, scores the 5th and is playing a major part in other team moves as well. The ball to Willian for the 1st, the ball to Wilson for the 4th. He's heavily, heavily involved. And I love it. If anyone's going to be so involved from an attacking sense, you love it to be Mr. Tom Cairney, who is Mr. Fulham.
Before we move on to West Ham, I think we're justified to talk about this game in more detail because, we scored 5 and it's nice of you to remind me of actually what happened last night as well. We need to talk about the fact that now we're in a situation where I believe, you've banged the drum for longer because, I'm a pessimist and I always like looking at the consequences of things. You like looking at the details of the game and I like looking at, where are we in the table?
Yeah.
I think the win last night for me is, unless we were to go on the most horrendous run of football ever, I think that will be us fine this season. I think we'll be all right. We won't be in any trouble. I don't think that the sides, Everton might come good, and they probably expectedly will come good at some point and maybe get out of trouble. But Sheffield United and Burnley, and if because Luton obviously won, now Forest are in the question. Sorry, I say Bournemouth won last night.
Yeah.
Luton just above the relegation zone, but Forest are going to get dragged in now because of the win for us last night. So my point being that Marco Silva now has to take enormous credit because, after the Villa game, we were quite concerned. We were very concerned about lack of goals, lack of creativity. But mate, we scored 11 goals in 3 games against Wolves, who are decent, Liverpool, who are brilliant, and Forest, who are not so good. But that is a statement of intent. Obviously, Mitrovic leaving in the summer. Where the goal's going to come from, mate, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. We're actually scoring goals, and this, I don't know. Did they just have some magic stardust in the international break? Where does this come from, Joe? Where's it come from?
It doesn't make sense because we weren't even creating chances before the international break. It's not like, we were getting unlucky and eventually it just clicks. It was literally the performances were not there either.
No.
I think that the way that we've been using Iwobi has made a massive difference, I have to say. He's been starting out wide more, and it's almost allowed us to have 3 attacking midfielders in different portions of the pitch at different times. Almost so, for example, last night, there's times when you have Willian, Andreas, and Cairney all looking to play balls into the box, and they've all got different angles. And suddenly the picture's a lot better than if we had, let's say, Andreas Pereira sitting outside the box or Iwobi, one of the two, with Bobby Reid on the right wing ready to cross it in, and Jimenez just alone in the box. We have got runners now. Everyone is sort of pushing forward, and with that comes space, with that comes chances, and I guess eventually comes goals. And I wasn't expecting this, where 3 against Wolves, 3 against Liverpool, and then 5 last night. 11 goals in 3 games when we'd scored 10 all season prior to that. It's utterly
We've scored 3 more goals than Man United this season.
I mean, that's ridiculous.
We're 1 point behind
and they are now
Chelsea.
3 points behind Man United, by the way.
This has been a remarkable season. I mean, the season's been so exciting. The amount of you can include the Fulham game, obviously the amount of amazing finishes we've seen to games, especially in the last week or so. I think that Liverpool and Arsenal, are going to push Man City all the way. Who now Man City? Oh, that's so funny. Josh King's parents have just walked past. There because they obviously live very close. That's really funny. In fact, they might be coming over to ours right now just to say hello. Excuse me, sorry. I just saw that out of the corner of my eye. Josh King, obviously in the academy, had a nice conversation with his parents last night. I'm just saying how much we like him, and we're looking forward to seeing him hopefully play with the first team. Sorry, my point being, what was I saying? points. Oh, Arsenal. Yeah, I mean, Arsenal might do well. Sorry, Arsenal might win the title, but City now got some work to do. And obviously Fulham now are in a situation where, how many points are we on now? 18. I mean, arguably we should be on more because of the Liverpool game, but we sit 12th in the table, one behind both Brentford and Chelsea, 3 points behind our opponents on Sunday, West Ham. It's time to talk about West Ham at home. Another game, Joe. How are you feeling?
Really good Fulham-wise, but they are a bit of a bogey team, which makes me always a little bit pessimistic against West Ham. I'm not feeling that today because I'm riding the high of last night, and I know that if we play like that again, we win. I think regardless of pretty much any opposition in the league, we were so on it. In terms of the team I'd play, I mean, I'd keep it quite similar. Tempted to bring Kenny Tete back in purely because I'm slightly more concerned about some of West Ham's attackers than I am with or I was with Nottingham Forest.
Yeah.
And I quite like the balance of, Castagne plays a game, Tete plays a game, depending on the opposition. I think that everything else I would probably keep as is because I thought that the performance was stunning. Tosin and Bassi, really, really liked that partnership. I just like the balance personally of a right footer on the right, left footer on the left.
I mean, it makes a difference, doesn't it?
The passes are so much more natural. Ream, if he played instead of Bassi last night, I'm sure he'd been great as well. But ultimately, we have to think that Bassi is the future. He's going to be here for longer.
Well, sorry. The only slight annoyance about this whole thing now is that we do need to now get Tosin onto a new contract. We can't lose him now. We can't lose
because
him.
There was rumours about that happening, and it sort of has gone quiet. And Diop is still to come back as well. You don't know what Silva's opinion there is because initially it was Diop when we had both our season. Then it changed to Tosin.
Yeah.
Then obviously Ream got injured and he played both. And then at the start of this season it was Diop, but the situation with Tosin seems to be more redeemable now than it was at the start of the season in terms of there's a chance he signs a new deal, even though it hasn't happened yet. I would be very interested to see what Silva's opinion is on Tosin versus Diop now when they're both fit.
Yeah, that's a good point. Just a final question before we get into like a team and a prediction before we go. I know it's been a long one today, but mate, I don't think anyone's going to be complaining apart from maybe our bosses, perhaps. Is Marco Silva, and I sort of already know the answer to this question, I just want to see your take on it. Is Marco Silva getting the best out of this team?
Yeah.
And that's amazing.
I mean, this team, we all said before the international break, and we were backed up by what we were seeing. It's like, this squad is not great. In terms of on paper compared to the Premier League, taking individual player quality into the equation shouldn't be how it is. We've taken almost like outcasts from other teams. We've moulded them. We didn't have a great summer. We have a couple of players that are probably out of our league in terms of Polinia and Leno, but he gets the maximum from this team. And even in games that we lose, like Liverpool, that team gave everything and we lost to wonder goals. But last night you saw that when we click, we're fantastic to watch. And it was a bit like last season where I just thought we were so good going forward, so consistently that I thought we were going to score every time we did. And it could be any player on the pitch, and I loved it.
This is really interesting because it sort of reflects what Marco Silva's basically been saying since the beginning of the season, in the fact that he's basically gone, we've had a strange preseason. He's basically insinuating that, it's obviously true, that the business was done way too late. Therefore, with all the players that had come in on deadline day, and we had, Iwobi come in late and Castagne come in late, I think, Ballo-Touré come in late. It's taken us so long to maybe get up to peak performance because he's still trying to work out what works because he didn't get the players in time to get it going for the first game of the season. And that obviously is a huge frustration because it means that we're anxious and we start slow and we're having to look over our shoulders. But now, the back of these three performances, we lost to Liverpool, we scored 3 goals. That's fantastic. Anyway, we're now seeing, and I hope obviously this is going forward, we're seeing Marco Silva now knows his best tactics. He knows the best way to create and score, and we're seeing it on the pitch.
Yeah.
But his one gripe he'll have with this is, well, again, back me in January so we can build for next season. Back me in the summer so we can actually be from minute one. Mate, I don't want to be overly dramatic, but we are good enough, given our 10th place position last season, Mitrovic list regardless. We play like that. We're good enough to push up to 9th and 8th and 7th.
Yeah.
It's a bit strong. But Brentford lost last night. Brighton are great. We go to Newcastle next week. I think we beat them. I think we'll get something in the game, definitely, with all these injuries. I think now we're seeing Fulham are actually quite good.
Yeah.
And it's obviously very reactionary. We won 5-0 last night.
It seems like the only thing we have is the mental block against the top teams.
That's the issue. And once we, I was thinking about that hot take I'd made at the beginning of the season that we'd beat a team and then we'd obviously lost to Liverpool. I was thinking, that would have come to fruition. Once we do that, I reckon we go to the bridge and get something. We go to Old Trafford at some point. We host, Arsenal very, very soon. Maybe. You never know. But we're starting to see, and it's so frustrating. It didn't come at the beginning of the season, but we're starting to see the best of Fulham. And I think we're a good team. And the good thing about this is we go to Everton, one game away from a semi-final. We might win the Carabao Cup. We might win it. Yeah. We might at least get to the final.
We have to prioritise it, that's for sure. That is our best chance of a successful season. We're not in immediate danger in the league. We're not fighting for Europe all of a sudden, but it's out of the realms of possibility. But our best chance of having a successful season is the quarterfinal that we are already in. We don't have to get there. We're in it. We win the quarterfinal. We get to a semi-final. You've got 2 legs where I fancy us against anyone over 2 legs, and then a chance of a final, which regardless of the result will be a wonderful occasion. I mean, obviously I say regardless of result as if losing wouldn't be one of the worst days ever. But I mean, getting to a final is such an occasion and it would be amazing to get there.
Let's do West Ham. They're playing tonight against Spurs. I'm luckily going, so I get to have a little bit of a watch of West Ham before we play them on Sunday. Of course, they came to the Cottage last season, beat us 1-0, Harrison Reed own goal, but it was in that period where we were sort of just we're on the beach. We're on the beach. But I, for certain personal friendship reasons, would love to beat West Ham because we haven't beat them in 10 years. We haven't beat them since 1st of January 2014, as my friend Joe always reminds me. So that, Fulham West Ham is one of the first fixtures I looked out for in the fixture list for those sort of reasons. Joe, Jared Bowen, Mikel Antonio, Danny Ings, Lucas Paquetá, Zuma, Alvarez. I mean, they've got some. Oh, Kudos, mate, he's so good. James Ward-Prowse. I can't wait to see him tonight. That's gonna be great. But against Fulham, what are you expecting?
From what I've seen from West Ham fans, I mean, they said that the performances have been poor. Sometimes the results haven't shown that. For example, the Burnley game, they were saying that the performance was pretty woeful, and Burnley were obviously winning 1-0 until the 85th, 86th minute, ended up losing the game 2-1, and West Ham come away with all 3 points and almost paper over the cracks. I'm hoping that the performances remain the same for them.
The one against Palace is a real issue they had.
Yeah, I mean, that was it was like the bore draw of Sunday, wasn't it?
I can't believe they put it on telly.
Yeah. I think that this has got to be another big chance for 3 points. I'm wary of their threat far more than Forest or even Wolves, I would say, in terms of set pieces from Ward-Prowse. Kudos, as you said, has been fantastic and electric in recent weeks. Kufald's getting a lot of goal involvements from right back. I feel like Souček is obviously scoring every single week. To do them getting suspended tonight or something. Jack, we can get at them 100%. Obviously, I'm excited to see Areola back. Fulham, that'll be a nice moment. I have expectations now. I've said what I think the team will be, and I think the score will be 3-1 Fulham. I think they'll get a goal, but I have to back us in our goal scoring at the moment. I see no reason why we shouldn't be going out there and putting them to the sword as well if we continue to play like we have been since the international break.
I think we're riding a crest of a wave right now. For a team, I would go Leno, Tete returns, Tosin, Bassi, Robinson. Perfect. Beautiful. Love that. Paulinho. I think Cairney, despite his amazing performance, has to be rested. If that's okay. Then I would bring Iwobi Pereira. And then Willian Wilson Raul.
I think you might have named 12.
No,
Unless
hold on.
I've made a massive error
Hold on.
myself. No, you
Leonard,
said no Cairney. Sorry, you
no
said
Cairney, yeah. So
yeah.
obviously Harrison Reed. I'd like to see Harrison Reed start. But if we're going to be a little bit more front foot against a team like West Ham, who obviously have those attacking threats as well, we can get at them. Just looking at their back four, Kufal, Mavropanos, Aguard, Emerson. They've also got some good options on the bench, including, I was about to say Aaron Cresswell. He's not that good, actually. Tilo Kehrer, Ogbonna. Yeah. Antonio's still out with a knee injury. Maybe I should pay attention more to what's going on here. They've also got Ben Rama from the bench, Maxwell Cornet, who, like, what's going on with Maxwell Cornet these days? Pablo Fornals, Mubama, who is like the up and coming player. But yes, my laptop's doing something weird. Let's wrap up with a score prediction. You said 3-1.
Yeah.
I say 2-1 Fulham.
Okay. 3 points or 3 points, whatever it may be. It would just be wonderful to keep this good form going, especially at home. Like we've got to run Arsenal aside. Well, hopefully we can still get something of great home fixtures in terms of, obviously we've had Wolves, we've had Forest, then we've got West Ham, then we've got Burnley, Arsenal, Everton, Bournemouth. You know, this should be a run of home wins. And we've started it well.
Perfect. You know, we've talked about it so many times. The threshold for going down this season, 30 points, you hit 30 points, you'll be fine. You'll be absolutely fine. And yeah, I just think Fulham are in a good position right now where we could push on here. We could push on. Obviously, I think that any fan base would take a Carabao Cup semi-final. Let's just say semi-final at the face of it, and then a slightly, maybe like a 12th place finish, maybe slightly lower than last season. But the way we're playing right now, Joe, we could be one of those informed teams. I know 2 wins and 3 is not amazing, but the performance against Liverpool, if most people watch that, and I thought, by the way, going back to the Liverpool game, the commentary was absolutely brilliant. So incredibly balanced and thought-provoking and fair, and that's very refreshing when you play a top 6 team. Other outlets like Sky, when reacting to Liverpool goals, was nothing short of an absolute disgrace. We should not be saying stuff like that. However, that is the tribalism of Fulham of football. And I'm sure if I was on Sky and Fulham had just scored a last-minute winner against Liverpool, I would probably disgrace myself so much that I would never be right back.
Jack, you shouldn't be there if you're a Fulham fan. It should be someone that isn't involved.
Exactly.
You are completely right. Obviously, you can't blame like a Liverpool fan for going bananas.
No.
But why is a Liverpool fan doing the game?
Who was it in the end? I can't remember.
Sorry, it was actually, I think it was Carl Robinson that was a Liverpool fan next to whoever was doing the game. And it's like, why is he even on the screen?
Yeah, Carl Robinson, Warra, manager you are at Leeds United under Sam Allardyce as a second. Or at Oxford United, who they've now sacked him finally. I mean, they sacked him ages ago. Anyway, we've gone from talking about Fulham Forest to Oxford United. It's time to wrap it up. Mate, this has been, we said 15-minute job today. We've done over double of that.
It's been a pleasure. And thanks everyone for watching. See you at the Cottage on Sunday. Big game.
Yep, can't wait. And we'll be back next week to preview, what's the next one? West Ham, and then it's Newcastle. Yes, that'll be very fun. Credit to the fans last night. Once we got going, the fans got going, and it was very much good fun.
Yeah,
keep it going. The feel good factor is rolling on here at Fulham HQ and Fulhamish HQ. We can't wait to be back to preview the game next week and review West Ham. Thanks so much for watching, Joe. Finally, thanks so much for being here.
Thanks a lot, Jack. Thanks everyone for watching, and hopefully, this is not the peak of our positivity this season. Hopefully we can continue from here. Like I say, I hope it's not the crest. I hope it's just the beginning of a tsunami, but like a positive one. You know?
Fulham are like properly mid-table Premier League now, and I absolutely fucking love it. Excuse me for my language. But that is what we've all wanted. And obviously last season. Sorry, I'm going on. Who cares? We all care, but come on, Fulham.